Hi, coffee is culinary. So today I wanted to talk to you about the five most important factors that you could do to get your coffee program moving in the right direction. Then over the next several episodes, we will talk about more additional details about that. And of course, as always, you can contact me if you want to help me with your coffee program, and that would just be seamless and much easier. So the number one, and this is in order of importance, the most important factor is the quality of the coffee you're using. You know, it seems pretty evident, but when we're talking about coffee quality, you're talking about choosing a roaster. So it's not about varietal. Those are things that'll come in secondary, and they're very important. You know, what varietal, what type of lot, what could it be? But let's all start from the, fair assumption that we're only having conversations about good coffee. Not going to be talking about bad coffee, but once your desired outcome is good coffee for your fine dining restaurant, then you want to. That's your focus. So, choosing a roaster. When you're thinking about choosing a coffee, you are choosing a roaster. So whether you want a simple coffee, not too simple coffee, or a complex coffee, questions you want to ask her in the beginning are, can they deliver that outcome without any flaws? It should be perfect, as is every other element of your restaurant, and it should be delivered without flaws. And you would judge it the same way you do any other culinary item. Remember, as I mentioned last time, coffee 3 times more complex than wine, more complex than wine. So you want to look at it from that aspect. Are they delivering that quality of product to you? So the first thing when you're thinking about choosing coffee, you are choosing a roaster. If you need more help with that, you can contact me, and we can move forward with that. So number 2, and most often overlooked, and in fact, if you did not look at this from the beginning, you were never serious about anything you were doing with your coffee program, and then I would say you might want to look at some of the other details in your restaurant that you think, well, these things are great, of course. Are they? I don't know. Not my expertise, but I do know tasty stuff. So water is the second most important thing. Talk about water chemistry. Really, we're just talking about levels of hardness or total dissolved solids to simplify it. There are specific minerals and that you could be looking for, but let's not complicate things. You want a range of TDS, or total dissolved solids, of 95 to 150 parts per million. That's the best sweet spot, and depending on specifics, that it's going to move towards either end. So that's something you have to really count on, is your water chemistry. And why? Well, the coffee, your roasted coffee from your reputable, highly skilled roaster, that's the maximum potential the coffee or espresso, we'll just say this once for the slow people, that when I talk about coffee, it can be, you can think of it as both talking about coffee or espresso. So it's a general term. I will often talk about specific things, specifically about a brewed or filtered coffee or espresso. But if I'm just generally throwing the term out, I mean coffee in all encompassing. So now that it's out of the way, back to water. So water is the vehicle that can best propagate all of those flavor attributes. So your coffee is a great potential flavor. You need the water to deliver those flavors, and the water has to be within a certain range or it can't deliver to all those flavors. The more perfect your water is, the more flavors it can deliver. And we're talking flavor, texture, nuance that have to be in the coffee first. You know, it can't bring anything out. It has to be there, and then you want to maximize those things that are being transferred to the customer. Without proper water, hardness levels 95 to 150, it's impossible to brew good coffee. Let me repeat that. Without proper water hardness level, it's impossible to brew good coffee. And if you weren't thinking about that, you were not serious at all, or you were just unaware, and now you are informed and you are the smartest person on the block. Might have been anyways, but good thing, it's now official. You are now the smartest person on the block. So number 3, grinder. Now your grinder, is a tool. The grinder is the most important piece of equipment in your whole brewing repertoire. So you do want an actual grinder. So at this point, but I'm going to say it anyways, you shouldn't have to say an adjustable burr grinder. If it's not a burr grinder, it's not a grinder. So let's kind of move that out there. It's a pulverizer or a spice blender, but those are not grinders, and you wouldn't consider them anyways, because as we just discovered, you are the smartest person on the block, and really, that's why you're watching this video. So your grinder, in general, the more you spend, the better outcome you're going to have. But you're likely going to be doing, you're not doing vast amounts. You're not a coffee shop. Now, if you're listening in a coffee shop, you take this into consideration. But particularly for the Michelin restaurants and fine dining out there, you're going to be brewing by the cup, and so you don't need something that can handle a super high workload, but you do need to consider the quality of the grinder. It's quality of build, quality of the burr set. Larger burrs are better than smaller burrs. There is a couple of really great grinders out there, and I can list a couple, but it really depends on the specifics of what you're needing. Coffee grinder and espresso grinder are usually two completely different things. So espresso grinders, it's actually much easier to find a great range of espresso grinders. Coffee grinders, it's a little bit harder to find ones that aren't meant for higher volume, that are really high quality, but there are some really good ones out there. Give me a shout, I can give you some recommendations. Now, number 4, person. That is you or me or whoever you have as the head of your operations for that. So coffee, water, grinder, person. So if you or the person knows what they're doing, so they knew enough to get the first three right, coffee, water, grinder, then the brewing part is simple compared to getting the other things right. And with what you are doing specifically in your field, in your restaurant, you have precision, you can follow detailed instructions, you can follow simple instructions. So the brewing part will be very simple. The thing that people miss on is getting those first three right. Typically, they get the first one wrong, and it doesn't matter anything after that. And now for coffee shops, about 85% of them get that wrong. Now for fine dining, and specifically Michelin star restaurants, it's 98, 99%. Your coffee, ask yourself, is your coffee at the same level as every other culinary aspect of your restaurant? So person. So you want to make sure that you have someone who is an expert, and an actual expert, not just one on paper. They can, just the same way you would audition a chef, I guess, you would, make sure that person can deliver what they say they're going to deliver. But you want someone to, either put a program together, train your staff, then it should run like clockwork, or, you could hire a new person for that. Honestly, it's probably best to have, your staff cross-trained so that everyone is aware how to do that. But it's not a simple thing. You can't just pass it off to the bar manager, the front of house person, because they have no clue. They have no clue on how to brew coffee, just like you wouldn't, ask a random person to be your pastry chef. And now we will go to number 5, is method. Coffee, water, grinder, person, method. 5 most important factors for delivering delicious coffee. So the method, whether it's, there's the brewed or filter coffee or espresso. Those are 2 main separate methods. But within coffee, then, you have your dozen different types of pour overs. Some are easier to do, some are harder to do, some you prefer, but, and then, maybe a French press and siphon if you are dedicated to craft. Pour over is often the best thing to do. By the cup, it's visual, but best outcome for a dedicated staff would be siphon, but you can contact me about that if you're looking to maximize the flavor potentials in your coffee. So let's go over them really quick. Number 1, coffee. It's about choosing a roaster. Then the specific coffees you get will be under that. Water. Know your water chemistry, specifically your total dissolved solids. You can buy a TDS meter off of Amazon for $20 or less. So don't overspend for it. Get that, measure water. If you need tips, I can help you out really easily with that. You shoot me a message and I can tell you how to best calibrate, to get your water where it needs to be, or I can help you with your entire program. So grinder, most important piece of equipment in your brewing repertoire. I will list some suggestions in this somewhere, and in the description, and we can go from there. Okay. Person, me, you, the expert, you have trained people or person. If they knew enough to inform you how to get the first 3, coffee water grinder, then you're on a solid path, and the method, easy peasy comparatively to everything else. We can have a discussion later in a future episode about coffee and about espresso and which would be better for your situation.